Hey guys, welcome back to another live stream. I apologize for not being able to do this yesterday, but life's busy and picking up and everything, but I am here today. I was going to be out front, except apparently the Wi-Fi does not extend out front. So we're in my mom's kitchen again. Welcome back. I just wanted to I was going to show you guys what the plants look like. Of course, it is like 3 p.m. I do apologize. I was supposed to start this at 3 p.m., but technical difficulties when I got back inside. The Wi-Fi was messing up. I had to unplug the router, unplug the modem. Now it's finally working. So I do apologize that it's 3:13 and I didn't start this until like 3:12 probably. So I do apologize for that. But I wanted to show you guys the garden and the area around the garden, but I'll have to, hey movie man, how's it going? But I'll have to figure out how I can show you guys that in an edited video sometime. But as a guy who likes to eat more natural food, I am interested in gardening specifically. Great to hear, movie man. All is good on this side except the technical difficulties as well. But I am interested in growing my own food and really interested in integrated fish farming, which is aquaculture, which I'm going to be doing in the crab room with raising fish and everything, except also growing a garden by using the water change water in that garden. And that's really where the growing food and everything comes in, that is something I'm interested in doing, and it is something I'm working towards doing, especially when I get that room. Yeah, it's very similar to aquaponics, except it's more of a open system outdoors, whereas aquaponics is something you use the fish tank and the garden or the growing bed is usually on top, and you can recycle the water. With integrated fish farming, you use the water and you don't really get to reuse it in the aquarium. So that's the main distinction. But I am also interested in aquaponics at some point, something I've been trying to get figured out, but it tends to be a little bit more complicated when you're keeping different species that take different water parameters. I don't believe in the whole centralized flow through system like a lot of local fish stores and stuff has. Like, I don't bash them, but as a breeder, I don't want to have something on one big system. I'd rather have something for like Sulawesi animals, like with the, yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's why I try to keep plants in my aquariums, because Mr. Movie Man just pointed out that roots will pull nitrates similar to pothos pulling nitrates, and that's something that I'm interested in, and that's something of why I keep a lot of my tanks planted, because aquarium plants will do the same thing. If you have aquaponics, all those roots will pull up the nitrogen and everything and will help purify your water a little bit. And also anything like, if you put it on your garden, that's a great source of nitrogen as well, but it will run through really quickly. So that's the only thing, is nitrogen leaking is a big thing. And if you don't want to use commercial fertilizers, you might as well use some fish tank water. Yeah, and I'm one of those who believe more stable as well. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is I've kept panther crabs and also these purple matano crabs in my water, in my tap water, but that doesn't exactly mean they're going to be able to breed in it, because I've heard some stuff with like angelfish and other wild caught fish. It's like you have a fish that survives in the tap water, but the eggs aren't able to get fertilized in your tap water until like the F2, F3 generation, and then they're actually able to reproduce in your tap water. So it's really just like, it's kind of a mess with breeding, but it's also what it is. You have to just learn and start breeding the easy stuff and then move on to the more difficult stuff. And it's really what I'm trying to do, instead of jumping in the deep end like I used to believe. I used to be the guy who was like, oh yeah, I can breed that, no problem. I've researched it for 6 months, and I'd rather not take the risk. I mean, I'm still kind of a little bit cocky in that area where I think I could, but I'd rather gain experience with breeding stuff that's less vulnerable and not really. Yeah, that's very true. Mr. Movie Man just pointed out licorice gourmet need low pH for eggs because a pH of 3 bacteria won't grow on the eggs and it acts as a natural antibiotic, and that is very true. Methylene blue is used to prevent fungus, the eggs from fungusing over, but I don't think that's really something that helps the bacteria very much. It just prevents the fungus. So that is definitely something that is very difficult because at such low pHs, you're very liable to pH crashes and pH swings. And I just heard it's very difficult to maintain pH at such low levels. But that's part of the reason why if I try to breed licorice gourmets, it'll be at least a year from now, probably more like a few years from now when I actually gain a lot more experience and can actually show that I have bred stuff. And yeah, almond leaves will definitely help and peat moss filter as well. But I'm still a little bit, just being me, I'm still a little bit concerned about the whole pH fluctuations and swings and everything. But yeah, tannins are a great help for a lot of fish, and there haven't been very many like controlled studies. There's been a lot of anecdotal evidence for tannins with Indian almond leaves and stuff. But as far as like actual controlled scientific studies with tannins, there's a lot of it is lacking, and a lot of it I hope to try to provide some of it as a part of my research and my business and everything. Yeah. Yeah, perfect black water tanks could do the trick, but I still hold by my opinion that that's more for like, I'm not advanced as I'd like to believe, and I'd rather save that a few years down the line until I can actually start small with like a mediocre black water. Like I've had shrimps in pretty tannin stained water with decent results, but it's still something that I'm still a little bit hesitant to try on my own as far as like actually trying to breed it for profit and stuff. But yeah, that is definitely something that should be pointed out. Like Movie Man says, that is only a small percentage of breedable fish. A lot of fish are not breedable. Like a lot of fish aren't bred for various reasons, but only a small percentage are very difficult. And a lot of fish in the hobby are captive bred, so they're not really as difficult as you would to try to breed wild caught animals. With wild caught animals, obviously they're from the wild, they were caught from the wild, and they're not used to parameters in captivity, so you really have to tailor to them, and you really have to tailor to those animals and try to figure out what they like as far as what they're used to in the wild, and then you can hopefully breed them. But as far as the topic of this video, getting back to that real quick, I am going to be drawing up some plans, and I'll put this in like a more edited video style, maybe for October, November. But the thing with the garden is I figured out that maybe only 1 or 2 vining plants and 1 or 2 zucchini plants will do for a garden of the size that we have available, because the vining plant is literally taking over part of the lawn right now. It's not a huge part, but it is kind of a decent sector of the land. And I mean, if you let it grow, it'll probably grow all the way across the lawn. But as such, I think only 1 or 2 vining plants and 1 or 2 zucchini plants. And I will be hopefully I'm hoping to, it's very long, but it's also very hot. So right now it's like, as I said, like 3 p.m., 3:21. So it's like, yeah, it's typically, it hardly ever frosts here. It's more of we have very mild winters in Arizona, at least in the Phoenix metropolitan area. And we can start growing stuff in March and go all the way to like November. So yeah, I will be setting some of those up. I have actually not done that yet, unfortunately. It's something that, okay. I have heard about Jacob's Aquarium, but I haven't actually seen a lot of his videos. I have watched a few of his, and they're decent, but I don't know. I'm Jacob too, so it's kind of that friendly competition in my mind, I suppose. But I will definitely check out his videos. As far as aquarium plants outside, I've actually been thinking about that a little bit, along with the garden and more of permaculture. Instead of having rows of plants, I'm actually planning on putting like some beans and peas right next to the plants that actually need that nitrogen fixation. Because if for anyone who doesn't know, legume plants can fix nitrogen from the atmosphere into the soil, and nitrogen is really the limiting factor for a lot of plants and a lot of growing anywhere in the world, basically. And that's really why if you put aquarium water on plants, they really perk up and they really do a lot better, because aquarium water, as we all know, has a lot of nitrogen. Unless you have planted tanks, then all that nitrogen is taken up in the aquarium plants. But yeah, the atmospheric nitrogen is into, and it's held by a triple bond, which is very difficult to break. And the NO2, which is the nitrates, the nitrates are what's really readily usable for plants. And they do use the most reduced form, which is ammonia. But I've read mixed studies, depending on if you look at aquaculture or terrestrial gardening. It's like a lot of people think ammonia is more readily used by terrestrial plants, whereas in aquariums, they say they use nitrates. And yeah. Yeah, I think we talked about that. But yeah, it's definitely something. If you have a really heavily planted tank, you can double your stock and still basically have your nitrates be under 5 parts per million, especially with fast growing plants, which is something that's similar with terrestrial ecology as well as aquarium ecology. Is fast growing plants grow fast, they take up a lot of nitrogen. They really I'm actually not the whole time. I'm actually just now kind of getting the inkling that it is you, because I'm seeing some similarities of what you're saying in chat was what we've talked about on Instagram. So kind of just now getting, I was wondering who Mr. Movie Man was this whole time, but I think I know it's you. But as far as, it was a licorice gourami, what you said about the cardinal tetras, and now what you say about the double deer stock. So, but yeah. Now that that's out of the way. Yeah. But as far as the terrestrial ecology, it is something that I am trying to delve more into, because a lot of aquarium plants, you can have them for food. Like some people eat duckweed, which my plants and my crab room are kind of getting overtaken by that stuff. Like the surface water, my 75 has like 3/4 duckweed. I don't know what happened with the Azolla or the frog bit, but 3/4 of it is duckweed. So I definitely have an issue there. And unfortunately, living in Arizona, I can keep floating plants, but I can't actually sell them. I can give them away, but I can't sell them. So I'm going to be trying to blend some up and put it in a sort of DIY food for my fish. I've heard some great things with another member who suggested it originally with duckweed. And I just want to figure out, since I can't sell any floating plants, what about frog bit, red root floaters, Azolla, and other floating plants that typically are found in aquariums? Because if you have a surplus, you can't sell them, you might as well use them as food for your fish if you get the chance. But I am planning on having a permaculture garden where I have some plants that flower and attract the pollinators, like bees and stuff. And now when my vegetables start to bloom, those will actually be able to have the bees already in that vicinity, and then they just go to the cucumbers or zucchini or whatever else is blooming at that time. And really, permaculture is about having plants that interact with each other in beneficial ways, like a mutualism and symbiosis, they both benefit. So some things that I've heard of is like having mesquite trees, which I will not be having. I wish I could, but my parents will not support that. But mesquite trees are legumes, and they do pull water from deep down in the soil and keep it at the surface at nighttime. And if you ever see like mesquite or sometimes palovode, which is in the same family, since they do fix that nitrogen, they break that triple bond on the N2. They fix it as mangrove trees. That opens up a whole new suite of possibilities. My two favorite habitats are mangrove swamps / forests and the deep sea hydrothermal vents. Mangrove trees and mangrove swamps are a lot easier to study, and if I can grow mangrove trees outside, that would be a great thing to do because it's one of my favorite habitats, and a lot of crabs, the brackish water crabs, come from that type of habitat. Not all of them, like fiddler crabs come from mud flats, but a lot of like commando crabs and those commando crabs and the red mangrove crabs and stuff, they definitely do come from the mangrove swamps. And yeah, the nitrifying bacteria around the roots, it's definitely a fungus symbiosis, but the fungus fits the nitrogen, provide the plants with food, and the plants provide the fungus a place to live, and also I think get a little bit of food from it. I'm not positive on that, but I think that's how it works. But at the same time, with the bringing up the water and also providing that nitrate in the soil, a lot of plants, like you can find grasses at the base of a mesquite tree or at the base of a lot of these legume plants, a lot of these legume trees, that they have grasses because it provides shade, just like we were talking about with the tops. It provides that natural shade. And honestly, I'd rather have a tree than a top, but I probably have to have a top because I don't live on my own yet. So I would definitely be looking into those mangroves. You can trust me on that because it is something that I am really interested in. And I have heard that mangrove swamps are not the nicest places to visit because apparently they stink. But if I can figure out how to grow mangroves and if they are in high demand and stuff, I would definitely try to do so. Because, I mean, as long as it's not illegal here or anything, which we have very few rivers, a few lakes, and I don't like mangroves are brackish waters, and I don't think there's any, don't quote me on it, but I don't think there's any real habitat for mangrove trees here in Arizona. And I'm not the type of person to release stuff either. My main concern with mangroves is if the plant is somehow transported by a boat or something, that could be an issue. But mangroves do form the seedlings on the tree itself, and then they drop down in the water and kind of float until they root. So it's not like fruits where the bullets eat them, they poop out the seeds or anything. But wow, that is actually pretty impressive. So your roommate dropped his phone in a mangrove and someone found it at low tide. Yeah, that is definitely something. If I do something like mangroves, I will be having to simulate high and low tides because they live in that environment where the water drops, the water rises, and it's just a very variable environment because of the tides going out, tides coming in. Now, I have seen a video on Facebook where they actually, yeah, I would have been highly impressed if it hadn't broke, but unfortunately, that's kind of the thing with a lot of phones is they're not waterproof, and mangroves are can be very treacherous depending on what part of it you're in. But I have seen, do I what? But I have seen some of the photos where the well, yeah. But I have seen some of the photos of the roots where they come out of the mud to be able to have the oxygen that they need and everything. And if you fall on those roots, you're dead. So they are definitely, they're not the nicest places. And you have to be careful to not lose your balance, or else you could be pierced in the chest or the stomach or the side, or whatever the case may be. Not trying to scare anybody, but I'm just telling it like it is. Keeping it real. So it's definitely not the most, it's not the most easiest place to get through as well, because it's so tangled and it's literally a tangled mess. But if you're fit enough to go through there, you're really fit, and it's just something that it's always been a dream of mine to visit those places. And I've heard with like Navy SEALs and other like high, like really elite squadrons of soldiers and stuff, if you're able to go through like 1 mile every 2 hours, you're doing great, because that's just how tangled they can be. So, and plus, if you free dive and you go underneath the root, you could get stuck, and still all stuff I want to do. But it is something that I have seen a video on Facebook where they have set up a tide pool type of thing. Yeah, there's a bunch of them in Florida. There's also some, I've heard, I haven't been there, but I've heard in Arizona, we have Flagstaff a couple hours north, the beach a couple hours, like, half a day west, and south in Mexico, we have mangrove swamps if you are willing to just drive there. We do have like all different types of environment with snow, beach, mangroves, and it's, Florida's other side of the country for me, but there are a bunch of mangroves and stuff in Florida, yes. That's the one that I think is most well known. But as far as the tank, I have seen stuff where, go lay down, Snickers. But I have seen stuff where, well, y'all will get to see my dog because he's annoying me. Come here. But I have seen stuff where, this is Snickers. He's a little annoying chihuahua. But I have seen a tank where it's really easy to have that tide pool interaction, and it makes it really easy. It just, you don't have to have a sump or anything. It's literally all contained within the tank. So it's supposed to be something that is really easy to, it's not easy to set up, but it's a lot easier than having a sump and everything else. But my parents just got home with my nephews. Hi. Hey. Go get them, Snickers. But I'm gonna have to end this. So if you guys have any more questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments once this is published as a video. But it's been nice talking to you, Mr. Movie Man. I know who you are now, so at least we finally got that out of the way. I've just been wondering if you subscribed to me, but turns out to you all, so thank you. And I hope you guys have a great week. And I will be hopefully having another live stream on Sunday, because again, tomorrow is going to be the transition from a fish room to a crab room. So a lot of my friends are going to be coming to help me with that. So have a great week, and I'll see you on Sunday.